Hello, everyone. Welcome to this episode of Connecting People, Changing Lives. My name is Karen Glasser, and I'm here with my amazing cohort and co-host, Nancy Ferrari. How are you this morning, Nancy?
I'm doing wonderful. We had so much fun before we went on air. For those of you who didn't catch it, we did a little pre-show Periscope to show what goes on. And yeah, it was good. It was actually good that I was having a little struggle with this lower third that you see at the bottom. So Karen and I just always have such a good time, and so happy that you are joining us because we have a mutual friend with us today, Dina Proctor. She's been on my show. I believe she's been with Karen. Karen also knows her, and we think the world of her, and I know that you will too. So before we welcome her to the show, let me just share a little bit about Dina Proctor. She is a life and business coach, an inspirational speaker, and best-selling author of Madly Chasing Peace, How I Went from Hell to Happy in 9 minutes a day. There you go. That's all you need. After hitting emotional rock bottom, she quite unintentionally created a process called 3x3 meditation, 3 minutes, 3 times a day, that enabled her to transform every aspect of your life. So can you imagine when you incorporate that into your life, and I'm talking to the viewers right now, how much better your day will be. So at this time, I warmly welcome Dina Proctor, and welcome to Connecting People, Changing Lives.
Thank you so much. It's just, I love the spirit and energy and everything that's here on this show. Nancy and Karen, you know, we've had our fun times together too. So it's just so enjoyable to share this space with you guys.
Well, we're glad you're here. We truly are glad. Both of us at the same time when we booked the guest, we both said, oh, we have to have Dina. We have to have Dina on the show. Because she's awesome. So let's just kick it off with a very basic question. What is 3x3 meditation? 3x3 meditation.
Is it 3x3 or 3x3?
3x3, kind of like 4x4.
Okay.
So 3x3 meditation, it just stands for 3 minutes, 3 times a day. And I'll give you just a couple-minute history on how that all came about. At the end of 2008 is when I hit my rock bottom point in my life, and I felt like I had tried to change everything to fix myself. I had this emotional black hole inside of myself that I felt like I couldn't heal or fix or soothe or get rid of. And after years in therapy and battling depression and anti-anxiety and all kinds of medications and therapies, I found myself heavily addicted to alcohol. And I couldn't quit drinking, but I couldn't live with who I was becoming because I was drinking so much. So when I finally went for help, the woman that kind of took me under her wing told me that I needed to learn to meditate. And at the time, I looked at her kind of like, what is meditation possibly going to do? Like sitting in this floaty, wistful kind of way, like how is that even going to be effective for anything? And she was really good with me. You know, she said, you've tried everything else. Your way doesn't seem to be working. Why don't you try mine? You know, and I didn't have a comeback to that, so I decided to give it a try. And the first couple of mornings that I followed her instruction, she specifically told me to sit still for 20 minutes and focus on my breathing. But because I was going through this, yeah, I know.
20 minutes is a long time.
I'm already getting panicked just by listening to that.
No, it's not, you're not supposed to be panicked.
It's not just me. It's not just me. Well, and think at the time, like I was literally suicidal. I was shaking and sweating because I was detoxing off of alcohol addiction. Like it was just not possible for me to sit still for 20 minutes at a time. And I would consistently max out right around 3 minutes, which was just, you know, a synchronicity that you know, shaped what I call 3x3 meditation today. But I would sit and put my timer on and intend to sit for 20 minutes, and then I just couldn't. It was physically, mentally, and spiritually impossible for me to sit for longer than 3 minutes at a time. But because she told me 20, I would sit for 3 minutes several times a day, so that by the end of the day I could tell her, you know, I did it. I made my quota. And what was amazing about this was after about 8 weeks of this 3 minute here, 3 minute there thing, I had this amazing experience in what I can only call a state of higher consciousness. I came out of one of my meditations and there was no mind chatter in my head. And for most people, that it doesn't even seem, you know, the voice, like, how long is this interview going to go? I got to take the dog out. Like, are we going to sit here for, you know, that the voice that's always going, it was completely silent. And I had this sense that my conscious awareness was actually above and behind my body. Like my physical body was maybe 5% of who I was, and the real me, the big me, the higher self me that I never even knew was there, was this huge energy. It was like 95% of who I am. It was the first time that I really felt that I was connected with that, all that is, that highest sense of self. And so from there, that's when I realized that these little 3-minute bursts of meditation were actually super effective and were getting me somewhere in my life. And so when I went through the steps of the addiction recovery program, and I had to go back and, you know, have hard conversations with people that I had hurt and people I had stolen from, and, you know, just going back and repairing my life, I would always prepare myself just in these 3-minute meditations. It's transformed, it's helped me to heal from addiction, from not only alcohol but food addictions, rewired my relationship with food, helped me release extra weight, lower my cholesterol. I've transformed my relationships. I've built my whole business and written my book by the inspiration that's given to me within these meditations. So that's kind of the, you know, little overview on how it was created and what it is today. It's just 3 minutes, 3 times a day.
Wow. Yeah, Karen's going, I don't know what to say.
And this is why we, quite frankly, have you on the show today, because what you are sharing is really, I don't want to use the word revolutionary, but it is, I totally resonate with it. I totally resonate what you're talking about, and I think I would love to delve even more into this, because this is just, I'm sure that anyone who's watching this, it's hitting you right now. You're saying, okay, 3 minutes, I can do that, right?
Right.
So what kind of things can this meditation be used for?
Well, there's nothing I've used it on that it hasn't worked on. And so let me flesh that out a little bit. First of all, understanding why and how it's powerful is especially if you haven't heard of this before, or you've thought, like, of course I need to meditate for an hour. Like, how is 3 minutes going to get me anywhere? What I understand from talking to cell biologists and neuroscientists and people who are experts on the mind-body connection and how it is that our thoughts and our emotional state and our mental focus shapes our physical world. When I was in that state of higher consciousness, something was very obvious to me that I had never seen before in my life. I knew and I saw so clearly for the first time that everything in my physical world, whether it's my body, my financial situation, my relationships in my life, how people treat me at work, in the grocery store, in my intimate relationships, everything is only ever a mirror of what's going on with me on the inside. So I used to go in and out of different relationships and think, like, I'm in a different city. How is that guy in a different body? Like, it's the same guy that I've dated before, and he's in a different body. You know that experience? Or how did I end up with the same boss 3 jobs later? Like, how is this happening? It's
Deja vu all over again.
No. Dina, would you say it's what our behavior patterns, what we're attracting, because that's what we feel our worth is? It just keeps going round and round until, I know meditation is so powerful. When I learned it in Sedona, I was dealing with severe lower back pain. And after a very intense breathwork session, and this is not 3 minutes, it was 90 minutes of intense breathwork. However, I've broken it down. I sat up and I had no pain. So what's I tell you, right? We can overcome so much because our mind can't negate. Right?
Yep, exactly right. And you're exactly right on track when you're saying that we attract it. Because we're exuding a vibe even if we don't even know that we are. You know, if I put you in a room with 20 people and everybody wants to be a multimillionaire, I bet that you would pick out the person who would make it happen, the person who would achieve that goal because of who they be, how they carry themselves, the level of confidence that they have. You know, like, we can determine who's going to, or a lot of times we can just we just know that person's going to be a success because of the way that they are, the way that they hold themselves, the way that they speak, the confidence that they have. Even if they haven't manifested it yet, you can tell by that vibe that they're exuding. And so that's what I'm talking about here, and what I've learned from, you know, understanding a little bit of neuroscience and that sort of thing, is that when we can constantly and consistently interrupt that subconscious programming, because every day we have between 60 and 80,000 thoughts. I mean, that's a lot of thoughts, and most of them are largely the same thoughts we had yesterday, last year, 10 years ago. You know, like, how long have we been thinking, I'm never going to lose this weight, or I'm never going to get out of debt, or this relationship is never going to change? You know, those thoughts are actually what's keeping us stuck. It's actually our emotional attachment and belief in those thoughts is what's keeping us stuck, even more powerful than the content of what we're thinking. So when you're doing several different meditations or just quiet times when you're getting that space between your thoughts, that interruption of the chatter that's going on all the time, when you can interrupt that several times a day, you're doing one of the most powerful things that you can in order to shift the way that you think, which in turn shifts the way that you behave, which then in turn shifts what's drawn into your life. So, you know, I've had healing and transformation in my physical body. I've transformed my relationships because of the way that I hold myself and who I be when I'm in relationships. I don't attract certain behaviors that I used to attract anymore. I've completely transformed my relationship with money. So money flows to me a lot more easily than it ever has before, a lot because I've used meditation to change the way that I think.
And I like our viewers to kind of visualize something right now, because it's sort of like, think of a iceberg in the ocean where you can see the tip at the top, but the majority of it is underneath the water. And it was explained to me this way, exactly what you just said, but in a visual way. That tip is your conscious thoughts. Everything down below is the unconscious thoughts, and because there's so many more of those, that actually leads everything else. Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah, because most of the time we're not even aware. It's almost like our thoughts are thinking us. So it's exactly what you're saying. It's under the surface. It's under the radar. We may not even be aware that that's happening. We may know. We may think, like if I asked you, if I asked a person who's been in debt for years, and I just said, how do you feel about money? The answer would be, I don't feel hopeful, or I feel that, they know that there may be kind of a negativity there, but they're not attached to it or aware of it all the time. If you can get what I'm kind of saying. So I love that iceberg analogy. I think that's really powerful to understand it that way.
Well, and that was actually how it was taught to me, because I couldn't get what they were saying, and I just couldn't. I was like, well, what do you mean my thoughts that I don't even know I'm having are whatever? So that visual picture, so that's why I wanted to share it. So how does someone start something like this? So how does somebody start a 3x3 meditation?
So the most powerful thing, I think, because I used to be a New Year's resolution person, on December 31st, you have your big list. I'm never going to curse again. I'm never going to eat bread again. I'm going to work out 4 days a week. And 3 weeks later, it's kind of like, maybe I should join the gym. Like it just doesn't have that an urgency behind it. It's too overwhelming. So with something like this, or with anything that you want to start for the betterment of your life, like a healthier habit, I always encourage you to just take it 7 days at a time. It doesn't mean you're only going to do it for 7 days in your whole life, but just take it 7 days at a time. So if you want to try a 3x3 practice or another meditation practice, or whatever beneficial behavior that you want to institute in your own life, just commit to doing it for 7 days. And it's powerful for a couple of reasons to chunk it down like that. One is because if you get to day 3 and you haven't started yet, you better get a fire under it, because it's almost, you're almost at 7 days. You better get started. So it has a little bit of an urgency factor to it, and also it's doable for 7 days. If you get to day 5 or 6 and you're thinking, I don't know if this is going to work, I don't know if I want to do this, you can remind yourself, I'm only doing this for 2 more days. And so it helps you keep it consistent. And so I like to have my week structured so that on Sunday evenings, I check in to see how I'm feeling about that past week's intention in meditation. Do I want to stay with it? Do I want to shift it? For me, what I do in meditation, I teach it in a couple different ways. For people who are just beginning, I think of our mind almost like a garden, right? And if you just took over a new plot of land and you had this overgrown garden area that was just completely devoid of nutrients, the soil was just dry and there was nothing good left in it and it was overrun by weeds, you wouldn't just bring your beautiful roses and start planting them. That you would have to take the weeds out, and you'd have to till the soil and make sure that it was ready to receive the roses. Otherwise, they're just going to get choked out. So it's kind of like our mind with all the negative thoughts that are going on. If we don't learn how to quiet that and how to weed the garden, if we start thinking all these positive thoughts, they're just going to get choked out by the negative. We're going to think, I can be financially successful, and then the voice is going to go, no, you can't, you've never done it before. And it's just going to choke it right out. So in the beginning, like the first 7 days of meditation, all it's about is just getting to that place of quiet inside of your mind. And so you can do a couple of different things. One is if it's hard for you to sit still and quiet your mind at will, which it is for a lot of people, I recommend starting with a neutral distraction exercise. So you can start with the number 483 and count backwards by sevens. I've done that a million times. I always get a different answer.
That's wild. I'm sitting here, my mind's trying to do math right now.
It's not about getting the math right, because I've never gotten the same answer. You pick any number and you count backwards by a weird number. The reason is because it gives your mind something neutral to focus on. And so I call it a neutral distraction activity. So, for example, if you're thinking, I got to take the dog to the vet, and my kid is sick, and I'm going to be late to pick up my husband, you have all these thoughts going through your head, you sit down to meditate, and you do this kind of counting thing, and then the 3 minutes is up, and you come out of it, and you're like, wait a minute, I know I had stuff to do. Oh, yeah, I have to go get the dog and the kids and blah. If it takes you a second to remember what it was that you were so stressed out by, you've completed the interruption of that subconscious programming. So that's a bridge. If you're unable to sit still and quiet your mind, it's a little starter exercise or a little bridge. Another one I've been doing lately that I really like, because I think it's a misconception that we need to stop our thoughts or try and get rid of our thoughts. There's something wrong with all of these millions of thoughts that are in our heads, because the more we battle it, the stronger it gets. It's kind of like saying don't think about the purple monkey, and that's all you can think about. Don't think those thoughts.
And I've got a purple monkey jumping around me.
It's gonna be with you all day, Nancy. You're welcome for that.
Right here.
But so instead of battling them, let the thoughts go, and then when you notice a space in between them, that's your indication to take a deep breath. So that gets you from the place of being completely run by your thoughts and scattered in every direction with wherever your thoughts are taking you, into the observer role of watching your thoughts, noticing it's a thought that you're having, and then having a conscious way of taking a breath in that space between your thoughts. And that can help shift you from just feeling like you're completely underwater, and then when you take that breath, it's like you can get above water a little bit, and it's like, okay, there is some space up here. There is a little bit of a break. So these are just two little very, very simple techniques to try just in those first 7 days to see if they get you somewhere. And then, you take it from there, because then when you're able to kind of get that garden weeded, and you're able to sit still for 3 minutes and have very little thoughts, and you're able to really focus on just being empty and being present and being open and feeling a good, centered, peaceful, state of being inside of yourself, that's when it gets fun, because that's when you can start planting the roses and visualizing that the blood is clearing and the cholesterol is lowering, or visualizing that relationship coming into your life, or that sort of thing, because then those negative, weedy kind of thoughts aren't going to be in there choking them out. So
I love that visual. Oh my gosh, I love the visual. Would you be willing to lead us through a meditation right now, right online?
Oh yeah, sure. Let's do it. Okay, so we'll just do a little quick one just for 3 minutes. So if you need to shift your body, if you've been sitting in the same position for the last little while, just go ahead, take a moment and do that. It doesn't matter if you're sitting up or laying down, eyes open, closed, whatever's comfortable for you. But just feel yourself settle into a comfortable position and bring your attention just gently on your breathing. There's no need to speed it up or slow it down, but just gently, easily become aware of your breath. And as you connect and just become present to this, it's really a small miracle, our breathing, I invite you to get in touch with what you most want to feel in this moment, or you most want to nourish yourself with. And so a lot of times I like to use the feeling of deep peace, or for you it may be a feeling of deep love, or a feeling of clarity, or maybe a feeling of energy. Whatever it is that you most wish you could infuse yourself with, I invite you to imagine that on every in-breath, you're breathing in that essence, and it's floating through, infiltrating and saturating every single cell of your body. So just start with that, just gently right now. Just become present to what it is that you'd like to nurture yourself with. Let your body breathe in, feeling that essence flowing in infiltrating, saturating, and anchoring itself into every cell of your body. So breathing normally, just keep taking a few deep breaths just like that. Just feeling that sense and that knowing that on every inhale, that essence is entering your body, and it doesn't miss a corner. It goes ahead and infiltrates every single one of your body's cells. And so just like that, just a couple more breaths, just breathing in, feeling that essence, just cleansing and clearing, and really becoming anchored inside of your being. And then when you feel ready, let yourself take one last deep breath in, feeling that flow, that inflow of that essence, and just feel it settle in, not just into the cells of your body, but into every dimension of your being. And so just breathe there, just knowing that it's settled in. And then when you're ready and when it feels complete, you can release that and then return your attention into the room right now.
Can you come be with me every day, Dina?
You can, because you can sign up for her everyday messages that I have on my phone.
What a great segue. So
yeah, and we couldn't have scripted that better. And I want to share something with you, Dina. As I came out of it, I thought to myself, I feel like $1 million. Is that not powerful?
Isn't that amazing? I mean, it's only 3 minutes. And can you imagine doing that a couple times a day, like 2-3 times a day? It's like that's where the transformation is.
Yeah. Well, and Dina, so let's tell people, I mean, we're going to do this later again, but let's tell people how, so that we don't forget to do this, where can people connect with you and learn how to do this, basically? They're going to go to your website, right?
Yep, madlychasingpeace.com, and then there's a whole ton of free stuff. I have free videos, and then if you put your email on the homepage, you'll get emailed a free guided 3-minute meditation, and then also like a little one sheet. Yeah, exactly.
Here's Dina in my inbox that says, every living being has love at its core. That was your message to us all today, which I love. Thank you.
Yeah, the daily inspirations. Yeah, I'm so glad. Yeah, so yeah, that's the best place. And then there's free video content and some 3-minute meditations on there. So it's like a one-stop area where I have everything. Yeah.
Wonderful. And peace. I would say if you can say at the end of the day that you feel peace, that's a great day. That's a great place to be, because everything else comes together with that. The love, the joy. And as Don Miguel says, we were not here to struggle. We were here to experience joy. I think he worded it differently, but you get the gist.
Right.
So,
right.
Gosh, Dina, you're wonderful.
And Dina, we mentioned that you wrote a book. And it's called Madly Chasing Peace, How I Went From Hell to Happy in 9 Minutes a Day. Tell us a little bit about the book, and that's also something that we're going to encourage people to go buy. All this stuff will be in the run sheets down below, how to get in touch with Dina, how to get the book, and how to do all this stuff. But I understand the book came out of this whole experience that you have and journey you've been on. Tell us a little bit more about the book.
Yeah, I never intended to write a book. You know, if you would have told me 5 years ago that I was going to write a book, I would have looked at you like you were crazy. You know, it just didn't seem like anything that was on my radar or that I was capable of. But I had that message, and I had kind of taken an informal writing class, and something came alive in me as I started writing and sharing just little snippets of my story and little lessons I learned and that sort of thing. And it ended up turning into a book after Jack Canfield, the creator of the Chicken Soup for the Soul. I went on one of his retreats, and I shared some of my writing with him, and I left that retreat. His team had gotten me an editor and a business coach. Like everything shifted for me, yeah. So anyway, but the book is, I call it a my turn, your turn book. So the first like 2/3 of the book is basically me telling my story, and it has like implied lessons. Like you kind of watch me learn it from the inside and create 3x3 and have all these transformations. And then the last third of the book, I call it your turn. So that was my turn. I told you my story. Now here's your turn, and here's little tips, tricks, and processes that you can take with you using within these small bursts of meditation several times a day to be able to transform relationships, your body, that sort of stuff in your own life.
Very cool. Very, very cool. So how long do these meditations generally take for someone to see transformation? How long do they have to do this? And I know it's a lifetime thing, but when might they start seeing some transformation?
So for me, I usually have a breakthrough around the 2.5-week mark. For whatever reason, that's my breakthrough place. I'll do it for 7, I'll have a particular intention for 7 days, and it'll be kind of weird. You feel that gear shifting thing. I'm starting to believe in a different way. The first week is a little bit awkward, but it's like learning anything, learning to drive stick shift, learning to ride a bicycle. The first few times you do it, it's just kind of like, am I ever going to get this? Then the second week, I start to feel like, all right, I can get this a little bit more, like more into it. And then right after that 2-week mark passes, something shifts inside of me, and I just feel like I own it. Like this is my new normal. I did it when I wanted to start running. I'd never run before because I'd never been chased by a bear before. So, but I would see people running, and I would think, they look so happy, and I just wish, it's like I wish I wanted to be a runner type of thing. And so I started in 3x3 just visualizing myself running around one block. That was it, just successfully running around one block. Like I would do a visualization, I'd see myself tying my little shoes, putting on my little workout thing, and then successfully running around one block. The first week it was kind of like, nah, not do anything. The second week I felt like, okay, I'm getting it. And then in the middle of the third week, I came out of one of the meditations, and I just put those shoes on, and I just jogged around that block. It was like I was so inspired. So it shifted me from feeling motivated or like I should, or this heaviness about it, or I should just go and get it over with, to this whole thing of like, there is nothing that's going to get in the way of this because I really want to do it. So you shift from being motivated to being inspired. So that doesn't mean it has to take 2.5 weeks for everybody. Some people shift within like 3 days. Some people shift, it could take a little bit longer, it could take a little bit shorter, but that's what I've noticed. And I've heard from different places that it takes 21 or 28 days to change a habit, the way that you think. So maybe that's like the time that it takes for the brain to rewire, for those new neural pathways to be set. You're flowing energy down and thoughts down the same neural pathway, which is kind of like a well-worn path. I feel like it's like a well-worn riverbed that the water keeps flowing down. You're interrupting it, and you're starting to create a new riverbed. You do that enough, and the new riverbed becomes the more well-worn path. And so that's how I picture the meditations. You're interrupting it, and then you're sending it the way you prefer it to go.
What I love about what you're sharing compared to what I've either talked to other meditators or like Oprah and Deepak Chopra, I mean, it's great what they do to get people started, but you have an intention. So when you can, you're using that power of visualization, so for instance, that purple monkey analogy was so perfect, and I want to share because I firmly believe this, that if we shift not a purple monkey into, let's say, because you're talking about finances, abundance, and all of a sudden you start feeling the weeds of scarcity popping up and removing them, and now you're starting to attract abundance, and that's what I'm getting from you. It's very intentional within your meditation, and then when it happens, you say, but of course, I've already seen it. I've already been there. Like you said with the running, you've already put the wheels in motion within the essence of it, all that you are.
Because we're talking about mindset here, are we not? I mean, we're talking about mindset, and why is it so important, Dina, that we have that mindset in order to achieve results?
The mindset is so important because that's what makes it sustainable. A lot of people can relate to like dieting. I've done a ton of diets over the years. I did high carb, low carb, high fat, low fat, whatever. They'll sustain for a certain amount of time, and then we usually fall off the wagon and just gain all the weight right back. And why does that happen? Because we don't shift the way that we think about food. When I developed what I call intuitive eating, after I developed it, I discovered, all these other people already invented it. But, it kind of was born through me, and then I realized other people were doing it. But when I shifted to being able to eat intuitively, weight that didn't belong on my body just melted right off. It didn't take any extra effort. It was just kind of like my relationship and the way I thought about food changed. It wasn't a have to, it wasn't a should. I didn't feel motivated. I didn't feel like I had to discipline myself or deprive myself. I got to that place inside where it was like, I love honoring what the cells of my body call for, and they are not calling for the stuff they used to call for, and the cells of my body just organized their way around it, you know? So it is intentional with the visualization. I'm not saying that it isn't. You know, I definitely have things that I look toward wanting to better or transform in my life. But the difference is that I feel that my higher self or the God source or the universe is the one that's actually giving me the visualization or the steps or the action to take. So for example, when I wanted to lower my cholesterol, I sat in meditation and I just said, I'm open to being shown the best way to heal my blood. You know, and a couple days later in meditation, I just had this visual of like this warm honey serum seeping through my body, and that's what ended up being able to measurably lower my cholesterol. So I didn't come in with like, okay, I'm going to visualize this and it's going to happen. Like, I don't approach the meditation with like this, okay, we're going to go get them and here's my goal. It's more like, I'd love to see how, for the greater good of my soul's expansion and the other people in my life, that I can have this transformation here. And I'm open to being shown how it's going. You see what I mean? It's like it has this flow process to it. So yes, it's intentional and it's very focused, but it doesn't have that like, you know, drivenness about it when I'm doing my visualization. So
yes, it's all in the how you word it too. What you just shared is so beautiful. How can I be, I learned this from someone, how can I be even more in service to others? And rather than, why isn't my business rocking? So it's definitely a more gentler approach, and it opens the doors to receive. Yes?
Yes, very, very well said, yeah.
Well, it's awesome. Believe it or not, we're at the end of our time. So, Dina, before I throw this back to Nancy, any last thoughts? Let's mention again how they can get in touch with you and what some of your freebies are. Thank you, by the way. It's so great that you have that kind of those kind of resources available. So why don't you mention that again?
Sure, it's madlychasingpeace.com, and then you can get a free little one sheet on how to start a meditation practice, and also a guided meditation and excerpt from my book if you enter the email address. And there's also a video blog page, and I have a ton of free videos on there. And there's a lot of other like little guided 3-minute meditations that are just 99 cents because I want them to be really accessible for people. And then I want to answer your question, that question you're asking, like the one last thing is like, I wish that when I was in the disaster, horrible place that I was at the end of 2008, I wish that I had heard from someone, I've been there too, and it's possible to transform all of this, you know? So I want everybody who's listening in here, if you feel like you're struggling with anything, whether it's money, whether it's body, whether it's addiction, whether it's depression, whether it's whatever it is in your life, someone else has walked that path before, is walking that path right now. It could be me, it could be somebody else, but there are people that have transcended whatever it is that we want to transcend in our lives. And there's somebody out there that can walk you through it and then can get you there through it. And so I just encourage people, like, open yourself up to possibility and set aside what your past experiences and what you think you know about where everything is going, because once you're able to take on kind of a new mindset of possibility or what's here for me and reaching out to other people for help, everything can change. I never ever would have believed it from where I was so stuck in my life to end up where I am now, and that's what I want to communicate to you because I wish somebody had said that to me.
Wow.
Wow. And that's what you're doing right now. You are sharing that with a lot of people right now, and that's what we're called to do in this world. We weren't put on this planet to be alone, and I'm so grateful for you and in my life. I know Karen would feel the same, and in everyone else's. So thank you so much. You truly are a light in the world, and I'm so grateful that you are here with us today.
Yeah, I double that. I double down on that. That was truly. Thank you, Dina, for sharing your wealth of information and your soul with us. That was awesome, totally awesome. I hope people will take advantage of your free gifts and to get to know you better. And as always, we want to thank our viewers because we know that you have a choice as to how to spend your time, and we want to thank you for spending time with us today. So on behalf of my co-host, Nancy Ferrari, and thank you to Dina Proctor, we want to say thank you, and we'll see you next time on the next episode of Connecting People, Changing Lives. Goodbye, everyone.